Di questa ingiuria, di questo affronto, di questa ingiuria, di questo affronto, io verrò principe. Mi dà racconto, mi dà racconto.
Uno ziccomodi non farà niente, uno ziccomodi non farà niente, ma parte subito.
Immantinente, immantinente. Mi voleranno nella città, mi voleranno, mi voleranno, mi voleranno nella città, nella città, nella città, nella città, nella città.
Beautiful. Hello, I'm Alan Shepard, president of Western University, and I'm joined today by 4 students in our music program. I'll ask them to introduce themselves and we'll get started. Thank you for joining us. Nick?
Hi, my name is Nicholas Granuski, and I am a third-year undergraduate in voice performance.
My name is Madeline Berman, and I'm also a third-year undergraduate in voice performance.
My name is Matthew Bermudez. I am a tenor. I am in my second year in my master's degree here at Western.
Hi, my name is Ocean In, and I'm in my 5th year of studies in music performance.
Just to get us started, why did you pick Western?
When I was applying to Western, everything was shut down.
Oh,
Unfortunately.
pandemic.
Yeah. So it was really interesting because all of the universities I applied to, I was not able to go in person to any open house, anything. But even through the online platforms and through talking with some of the faculty here, it just felt like home.
Matthew, what about you? You came for a master's degree, so...
Yeah, so for me, it made a whole lot of sense to stay here where I felt the most comfortable, especially on such a beautiful, pleasing campus to look at every single day. Just walking up the bridge and just entering Talbot College and just seeing like a beautiful place to study and work in for the next few years.
What sort of advice would you have for somebody who's grade 11 or grade 12 and who's thinking of a degree program in music?
I was the first person in my family to go and pursue music ever. So even if you feel scared and you feel like you don't know what you're gonna do, just have passion and have confidence and lean into what makes you happy and what makes you feel like you have a purpose.
Yeah, great. Ocean, Matthew,
You pretty much covered what
you have advice?
Yeah, I was thinking about the same thing. Like, don't be afraid, because there's always going to be people who are more advanced in skills than you, but that's not the whole point. Like, the point is for your own advancement and your own enjoyment. If you truly enjoy music, go ahead and do it.
Yeah. I wanted to come back to Madeline's point that she's the first in her family to pursue music. And what I really want to know, and I have a personal interest in this, is how are your parents or your family responding to what might be career choices? You might not end up in musical careers. There are many different pathways, right?
For me, I come from a generation of engineers. My grandfather's an engineer, my uncle's an engineer, my dad's an engineer. I kind of sat them down and they were like, okay, we can do this, and kind of
take a deep breath.
Yeah.
You're not going to be an engineer, mom, dad, I'm not an engineer.
All the rest of my family kind of was like, yeah, we figured, and that was it.
Yeah, Matthew?
Thankfully, my parents were very much supportive of it, even though my mom kind of wanted me to pursue a career in education. But it's been honestly quite a journey in terms of finding my passion within music.
Yeah. Ocean?
I'm lucky that my parents are very non-traditional in that sense, because you hear about the Asian stereotype of Asian parents want their kids to go to university to become like doctors, lawyers, that kind of stuff. My dad, however, did want me to get my teacher's college thing going and being able to teach music. He thought it was like a better career path.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Parents want the best for their kids, right? There's a lot of opportunity in music.
Oh, for sure.
Lots and lots of opportunity. Madeline, what about you?
Yeah, I said to my parents, I want to be an opera singer. They were like, you want to do what? You want, huh? And they're impressed with me now because they see how far I've come and what a passion I have for it. But still, every time I go home and I talk to my mom and I say, Mom, I'm stressed out. She said, well, you could just become a psychologist like you're supposed to be.
Right.
She's a psychologist.
Oh, yes, okay. I think as you go through and you have the success you're going to have, people will get equilibrium on this.
Ritrovarla, io giuro.
I want to ask about confidence. It came up earlier in our discussion. So you come out on this stage where we're sitting right now, and you have to start singing in front of people you don't know. It's probably dark out there, right? How do you get that confidence, and how do you deal with the other languages and all the rest of it? So, Madeline.
For me, still to this day, performing is terrifying.
Is it?
It is so scary. So getting on a stage and singing with nothing in front of you, just you and the stage and everybody is so frightening, and it'll feel impossible some days, but you go out there and you do it and you tell a story. And that's what really helps me, is remembering it's not, look at me, it's here's this beautiful story.
It's not about
me.
Madeline.
Yeah.
It's about Madeline's performing this beautiful story for the audience. Oh, that's very interesting, yeah.
You cannot move an audience unless you are willing to be moved yourself. Having a responsive audience is tenfold. It helps you so much, like getting a laugh, getting anything at all that shows you that they believe it, just for a second.
That's what gives you that shot of dopamine. You go like, wow. And when that happens, it gives you confidence. It makes you feel like you are doing your job, and then you're doing great, and people acknowledge and appreciate what you do.
There's no substitute for the memorizing and the rehearsing.
Right.
You can't short circuit that, right?
I feel like also another good point is the characterization or the artistry behind the music. Who your character is, what they're talking about, like what they're singing about, what their emotions are. I feel that preparedness helps me distract myself from something as nerve-wracking as performing.
Yeah. The performing side of it looks difficult to me. I couldn't do that, I don't think. I'm going to come back to Ocean for a second. So you immigrated from China.
Yep.
And I don't know what your English was like when you were immigrating, but I'm really interested in just the whole sequence of events for you, because you're singing in often your third or fourth or fifth language, right?
When I first moved to Canada, obviously, like, English is not my first language. The more you speak the text, the easier it is when you try to sing it. So what I would do is I would get the text of the piece and I would speak it just without like all the singings and stuff, just speak it like a poem, or like speak it as the text itself. And I tried to make it as authentic as possible. And then when I get it pretty much nailed down, I would add the music back in. That's how I approach it, and I find it pretty useful.
So Nick, you just did a duet with Ocean. What's your approach?
Something that helps for me is throughout all of my scores, I will put word for word translation. And then you get to the point where you can kind of speak and kind of sing it, and you don't need to think about it as much. But it does take a long time.
Right. It looks like it does. Yeah. Madeline, what about you?
I kind of cheat, because I love to sing in languages I already speak, and it's like you get the credit for singing another language when you know what the language is. Yeah. That's why I love to sing in French, because I know a lot of French.
Right. That's great. But I'm sure when you're singing in French and you're a strong speaker of French, off the stage, it must give you a certain level of confidence and comfort, right? Like, I've got this. I do actually speak this language. I always thought it would be hard if you're not a German speaker, for example, and you're up there and you gotta like do German, right? Like,
German freaks me out.
Does it? Yeah, okay, yeah.
I'm not good at it.
Yeah. All those verbs at the ends of everything.
Yeah.
What about you, Matthew?
There are numerous coaches, teachers here that either have mastered a language or have come from like a country that specifically has that language readily available to them, and it was very much an important factor, and I'm very much grateful for the entire faculty for helping me along my journey.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So on that journey, you must have moments where something doesn't go right on stage, or I don't know, do you ever forget lines, or somebody else has forgotten a line and they turn to you and they've skipped a whole chunk of the score? So anybody have like a tale they want to reveal, and what do you do in that situation? Madeline's got a story of woe.
I forget things all the time. what I find happens is I'll think I'm about to sing a phrase, and I'll think I don't know what the phrase is, and I'll freak out in my brain. I go, oh my goodness, I don't know what the next word is, and then I sing it because it's muscle memory, and I turn out to know it.
Anybody else have a tale of disaster they want to talk about? Nick?
I'm not necessarily disaster, but I had the issue one night in Albert Herring that I was with my counterpart Nancy in the show, and I said one of her lines with her by accident. And you continue with the scene like nothing ever happened, because most of the time the audience doesn't know the wiser.
As you say, I think the audiences probably don't, I mean, unless they're a specialist in opera, which very few would be, they probably don't know, right? They're there for the experience, and they're gonna, if you miss a line or sing a line with somebody else, they're not gonna know, or even if they know, they're not gonna, get too worked up about it.
Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of improv that kind of comes up whenever, something like that happens, and you kind of have to develop that skill to, keep the ball rolling there. And that's kind of the thrill that you get whenever you perform, is that like you never know what's going to happen. You kind of need to just expect the unexpected.
Yeah, it's sort of a high wire act.
Yeah.
Like you're doing very well. You could tilt like this, and you're getting right down with the bar, right? And you're trying to adjust in the moment, right? Which probably is part of the pleasure and part of the fear all at the same time.
Exactly,
It must be sort of terrifying. So you're on paths to build careers as opera singers. What's the future of opera, do you think, and your own career path through it, if that's where you end up? Nick?
Well, no matter what, I want to be performing somewhere, and I know that my future has that in some capacity. There are so many beautiful composers coming out who are composing new operas. It's going to be great for all of us. I think we're all going to be performing, and I'm sure that if we all came back, we would have worked together a bunch of times between then.
Oh, awesome, wonderful.
I think opera in general, the future is in inclusion and breaking down walls, because I feel like opera has a reputation of being maybe elitist and not for everybody, but I think it is for everybody. When I started opera, I didn't know anything about it. I was like, how am I going to do this? But it's just beauty, and it's feeling, and it's emotion, and it's stories, and that is for everyone.
So we're just going to do a quick lightning round. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that's really on your minds that you'd like to? Matthew's got something. Right? Matthew, let's start with you.
I am very curious, and this is a question for you. Is there any operas that you, by any chance, are your favorite?
What I would say is that I grew up in a family where there was very little music and no formal education. I was the first in my family to go to university. So that meant I had sort of the approach to opera that you all were talking about, which is that's for somebody else. That's this elite stuff that I don't really know and I don't really have any access to. And so I wouldn't say I have a favorite opera. I've now attended quite a number of them. I liked some of the comic light operas. When I was a graduate student in the University of Virginia, there was at Monticello, out near the university, there was a summer opera program, and you could come bring your picnic blanket, some cheese and bread and whatever, and they had professional. It was a summer program, so that was very fun. Some good experiences there. Madeline, what about you?
I just want to say I think that the Western program really prepares us well for performing in professional settings, and that came up for me recently. A friend of mine, she's a master's student here, Darren. She was performing in Toronto at Opera Fest, and she was performing scenes from La Cenerentola. And at the very last minute, their Clorinda, which was the role that I played here, dropped out. She was sick.
Oh.
So they call me 24 hours before saying, hey, do you still know this part? I'm like, yep. So I drove down to Toronto and we performed.
That was a really fun experience, but it also requires some adventure on your part, right? Because self-confidence to say, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, I can do that, yeah.
You get further in your careers by saying, yeah, I can do that. We've been in conversation with 4 music students in the Don Wright Faculty of Music. Thank you for joining us.